Hello, here is a Tohatsu 50 horsepower 2-stroke outboard motor that I just purchased. The motor has been sitting for a long time. I'm going to do a little overview of the engine. This engine is pretty hard to find because of the horsepower, because it's a tiller and that it does have a 15-inch shaft. It's really hard to find this motor with a 15-inch shaft and with the tiller. It's a manual start. Weighs 150 pounds, doesn't weigh that much, and this thing has a lot of power. I'll tell you what, we'll go under the hood. As you can see, inside's really clean. Everything's original on the motor. Outside does have some, a little bit of corrosion. It was sitting, it looks like it was possibly sitting on the boat, but the inside, it looks almost brand new on the inside. First thing I noticed is that the fuel filter isn't full with fuel, so what that tells me is that whoever stored the engine actually ran the gas out. So there is a chance that the carburetors do not have to be removed. Hopefully they don't have to, but they do. It's not a big job, it's pretty simple. But anyway, I'm going to try to fire the engine as is. We're gonna see if it's pumping water, if the engine's running as it should be, and we'll see how it goes. The engine has spark and it has perfect compression on all 3 cylinders. So what I'm doing first is I'm cleaning the fuel filter on this engine. There is also a screen right here to make sure that it's not dirty. This one's fine. Looking for any dirt. If there's any dirt, clean it. This one's pretty clean. The bowl was pretty dirty. It wasn't too dirty, but you always want to make sure there's no dirt in there. Gonna screw that back on. Spark plugs are still fine, and now I'm gonna get some fuel to the engine. Okay, so I have my fuel tank hooked up with my fuel hose. Got my water source, and the motor didn't come with a key, so I took my Yamaha. Came from my Yamaha control box, and it works. So I do believe this motor is going to start up because I think the guy before me, who I bought it from, drained the engine before storing. So, but we're gonna see if it fires right up. This is the first time this engine is being fired up, so we'll see how it goes. We have our water source, we have fuel in the engine right now. Now I'm gonna full start it and see what happens. Put the choke on. I'm gonna give it some pulls so it can timer the motor up. Okay. Just what I thought. It's not running right though. So the first step, what we are going to do is we have to remove the airbox. So we have to remove these flip screws. This is going to remove the airbox cover, and we're going to be exposed to, should be 6 10mm screws, well, bolts, and those are holding the carburetors together. We just have to remove, the fuel and some linkages, and the whole carburetor, they should come right out. So that's what we're going to do right now. So the next step is you either have to use a Phillips screwdriver or it looks like a 10mm socket to remove these bolts. Okay, so once you remove the airbox, you are exposed to these main bolts. These are holding the carburetors, each of them. There's 6 of them, they're 10mm. And you also have to disconnect the choke and the main fuel line feeding to the fuel pump. So I am going to get a rag because I don't want fuel to be spilled in the engine compartment. there is this thing holding it. It's better if you have pliers. Just like that. You will have some fuel spilling out of there, which is normal. The only thing that's also holding it is this choke mechanism. It's pretty simple. Get your finger, push down on here. That's gonna move. Now you're gonna pull left, and this metal arm thing, this rod, will remove from there. Now all we gotta do is remove these 2 bolts on each of the carburetors, and the carburetors will come right off the engine. Alright, so as you can see, I have all the carburetors off. You want a clean work area to work on the carburetors. I'm gonna turn off the fan so you guys don't hear all that mumbling. So here are the carburetors. I want to remove these bolts. You also want to disconnect these linkages. You only have to, you could do both or one, doesn't matter. And also this one right here, you want to put some pressure and pull it off. It'll come off just like that, so that you can work on the carburetors. You also need to disconnect the middle one, or the top one, does not matter. I'm gonna disconnect the middle one. Just be careful so you don't break anything. I'm gonna put this on the side actually, just like that. Put this on the side, just like that. Also, I want to disconnect these fuel hoses in order to work on the carburetors. And watch out for these washers. They go on the bolts. I see that mine are falling off. I have to put them back on. So now I'm going to disconnect these hoses. Alright, so I disconnected the fuel hose, and now I'm going to be working on the top carburetor. You want to make sure that your O-ring right here is all intact and not broken or cracked. And you want to watch out for this adjustment mixture screw. Do not lean in right here and put pressure on the bowl when you're taking these screws out, because there is a possibility that you will break this, so keep that in mind. But right now I am going to remove the 4 Phillips screws that are holding the carburetor bowl, and we're going to see which of these carburetors is acting up because the motor isn't running correctly. Alright, so the bowl is removed and it is very clean in here. It's fairly clean. You want to make sure that your float is working and the needle is not stuck. You make sure that needle is working. You'll have your main jet right here, and if you take your fingernail, take this rubber piece out, you have another jet in here. And this jet gets clogged up a lot, and I am going to remove that one. It's in there. And here's your bigger jet. Let me remove that right now. So looking at the carburetor, the jets, they are all good. You know, you can see right through them. That's what you want. Here's the one that always gets clogged. You can see that, you can see right through there. Carburetor is really clean, fairly clean. It's going to clean it up a little bit. And we're going to pop the top off, and we're going to clean the inside also. So here's the top. It's a little bit dirty, but not too much. Not bad at all. Just normal. So I'm just going to clean the whole carburetor, and I'm going to assemble it, and I'm going to move on to the middle one, then the bottom one. Alright, so this carburetor is officially done. This is the top carburetor that I finished. We'll put that on the side, and we're going to move on to the middle one. Okay, so I disassembled the middle carburetor. It's pretty clean. I have not taken the jets out. I removed the top part. Pretty clean. So we're going to see how the jets look. So looking closely at the jets, they are both in, they are not clogged or anything. You can see right through them. Carburetor is pretty clean itself, but I'm going to clean it up and I'm going to assemble it back together. Alright, so the middle carburetor is all finished. I'm going to put that to the side, and now I'm going to move on to the bottom carburetor. Alright, so I have the bottom carburetor disassembled, and I found the problem. Our problem was not this one. So you can see this one. These really don't get clogged, but this one, the small one, it's clogged. You can't see through it. Even when I blow through it, you still can't see through it. So what you do is you want to get some carburetor cleaner, squirt some in there, and if you don't, you could use, this is really good, air compressor or a needle will unclog the hole. If you have an air compressor, it's really easy. Alright, so now you can see right through there. See that? Look at that. So now the engine's gonna run great. So now I'm gonna just clean everything up, and I'm gonna put everything back together, and we're gonna install the carburetors back on the engine, and we're gonna fire the engine up. Alright, so there we go. We have the carburetors fully assembled, clean, and inspected. Everything is in good working order, and now I'm going to install the carburetors onto the engine. Alright, so the carburetors are currently on the engine, and now I have to install the airbox onto the carburetors. Okay, so I have the airbox on. I do not have the airbox covered just in case I need to visually see if there's anything else going wrong with the engine. But I have everything hooked up, and I'm going to fire the engine up for the first time after cleaning the carburetors, and we're going to see how the motor is running. Okay, so after an hour or so, I had to adjust the carburetors on the engine. The mixture screws were not set correctly by the previous owner, but now the engine runs really nice. And I'm gonna start the engine to show you guys how well the engine runs now. It's running really good right now. There you go, Tohatsu 50. So what I'm doing now is I'm changing the lower unit fluid, and as you can see, it's pretty dark. I don't know when the last time this fluid was replaced, but it's been in here for a while. And one good thing is that there's no water in this lower unit. If there was water, it would be like a milky white color, and this is just black, which is good news that the seals are good in the lower unit. So now I'm actually pumping in new fluid into the lower unit. Here's the old one. It should be clear like this in the hose. You could be able to see the fluid. That's really dirty gear oil. But yeah, that's what I'm doing right now on the engine. Alright, so here's the motor after I cleaned it and detailed it. As you can see, it looks very clean. 4-blade propeller. Tohatsu 50. 15-inch shaft. Here, I'm going to take the hood off. This is a 2001 model. Pretty clean inside. It's actually really clean. Clean the carburetors. It's a very nice engine. Only weighs 150 pounds. Yep, there you guys go. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.